92.3 KGON with Dave Scott, and on the phone, a guy I'm sure you know for the last 10, 15 years. He has been one of the best-known comics in the country. Jeff Foxworthy, hello. It's nice to talk to you.
Good to talk to you, too. How are you today?
Very excited to have you coming back to the Schnitzer November 20th with your good buddy Larry the Cable Guy.
Real excited about this. Larry and I did a show last year. He lives in Nebraska, and he was doing a benefit for a child with a brain tumor, and he asked me to fly out. And I said, well, what do you want to do at the end? And he said, well, let's just sit on stools and take questions for people. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be terrible. It was great. It was so much fun. And then we worked together in December and in Vegas and did the same thing. And you know, when we were doing Blue Collar, we were playing big arenas, which, you know, I mean, for your ego, that's fun. But for comedy, it's difficult. And so he said, why don't the two of us just go out and do this? You know, and I said, okay, well, but let's do the smaller theaters where it's more intimate, and we'll both have to go away, and we got to write a new hour of material, so we'll both have new stuff. And he kind of laughed and goes, a new hour? Oh, Lord, I got to start thinking. So that's how it ended up being the We've Been Thinking tour. But so we, like I said, we both have a new hour of stand-up, then we'll bring stools out and take questions. And it's just a fun night.
Wow. And, you know, you guys, you already have that chemistry from the Blue Collar tours. So I think you take that and you add it to the fact that you're just sitting on a stool and you're a lot closer to the audience. There's got to be a more intimate feeling that's happening there.
And, you know, the fun thing is the inspiration for that with the Blue Collar thing was when I was growing up, I used to love the Carol Burnett show, but I loved it when they got tickled, and we're trying not to laugh. Because when you're a comic, if you do your job right, you don't laugh. And the fun thing about the stools was people got to see us laugh and got to see us having fun. And, you know, we all liked each other. Larry and I had been buddies for 30 years, and so I have a hard time looking at him. I start laughing when he starts some of that stupid stuff, and so sometimes I just have to stare at the floor. But it's just fun to travel with a friend. The only downside of being a comic is you're on the road by yourself. So when you're doing it with your buddy, it's a lot more fun.
So you're doing the entire show together then. I guess I was under the impression it was Jeff and Larry, and I was wondering, how do they know which one's opening? It's not a situation.
Well, usually what we do is we'll flip a coin backstage, but one of us will go out and do an hour, and then the other one, and they'll leave, and the other one will come out and do an hour, then we'll come out together at the end.
And it's all decided by a flip of the coin.
Yeah, exactly. Something that technical, yes.
Or in Larry's case, a watermelon seed spitting contest.
Well, I tell people Larry's kind of like the human state fair. After 5 minutes, you're going to feel better about your own family. So.
And maybe a little queasy.
And maybe a little queasy, that's right.
We're on with Jeff Foxworthy. Let me talk, if you don't mind. I want to take it back to the early days. If I understand right, you had to actually, in the very beginning, you had to be coaxed into entering this comedy contest. You used to joke around the office at IBM. Is that correct? I
did. I was the funny guy at work. I was the guy that was doing impersonations of the boss in the break room and always getting caught at it and getting in trouble. And a bunch of guys that I worked with used to go down to the local comedy club, and they were having a contest, and they entered me in the contest. I'm like, whoa, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I went and watched 1 week, and I said, okay, I went home and wrote material about my family, and I went back and won the contest. And I was scared to death, but I knew that first night, I'm like, oh, my gosh, I want to do this. And actually quit my job at IBM. You know, my parents thought I was insane. My mom's like, are you on dope? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, no, wait, so you quit after the first night?
Well, not after the first night, but after I won that night, I kept going back like every week to the amateur night things, and I mean it didn't take long. And I'm like, I want to try this. And my mother's like, are you on dope? And I'm like, no, I think I can do this. I want to try this.
Let me ask you this: did you have this happen to you? I did something similar to that. I was part of a morning show at one point in my career, and this comedy club had a contest. They invited all the morning shows to come and do stand-up, and then they had like a stand-up kind of a runoff where if you won that week, you got to perform the next week. So our first time up, just like you, my partner and I, killed. And I have to say, I don't think I've ever felt a higher high than when I was killing it on stage. So we were pretty cocky. Next week, we got up and did our thing, and God, we died so hard.
And if you had died like that the first night, you never would have done it again. I mean, that's as bad as it gets.
Well, for me, dying the second time around was enough. I haven't done it since.
Yeah, I often say that. I'm very thankful they laughed the first time that I ever did it because, yeah, there were nights I remember after that, and I thought, okay, let me try all new stuff and go out there and just crickets, just nothing. And so there was a big learning curve on how to do it, which is kind of unique to stand-up. I mean, there's, you go to school to be an actor, you go to school to be a musician, but with comedy, it's kind of trial and error and just watching other people.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you have a concept in your mind of the moment when you went from playing small clubs to theaters? Was there like a light shining from the comedy heavens that all of a sudden you went, whoa, this is big, I'm on my way?
Yeah, probably the biggest one, and of course people growing up now wouldn't understand it, but it was the first time on Johnny Carson. And in fact, I was on Jimmy Fallon a few months ago when the producer there, they had gone back through the NBC archives, and she gave me a picture of me sitting in the chair talking to Johnny, and Johnny's just laughing. And I said, oh, my gosh, that's just a treasure. But Johnny back then had the ability, if he called you over to the couch, that meant he loved you. And it was like Caesar deciding if you were going to live or die.
Wow.
And almost overnight from that moment, you went from being the opening act in Vegas to being the headliner in Vegas, all because Johnny Carson approved of you.
And what do you think? It's not like that now for comics, is it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's anybody on television that has that kind of power anymore. But, that was back in the days of 3 TV channels, and so everybody was watching Johnny at night. And if he anointed you, you were on your way. So, yeah, that's the moment for me. And I had Rodney Dangerfield saw me in the early days, and I was playing in New York, and he put me on one of his young comedian specials. And so I had a couple of little breaks that kind of, propelled you up to the next level back then.
If you were just getting started today, how do you think you would go about it?
Boy, I don't know, because it's so different. When I look back, most of the money I made in my career was from selling records. A lot of people don't even know. I've sold more comedy records than anybody, or selling DVDs, and nobody buys records anymore. Nobody buys DVDs. I told someone not long ago, I was like, boy, if I was starting all over, I wouldn't know how to make a living. But, with everything that goes away, something new comes along, and so you have the Internet. But, that's why you can't sell a DVD, because as I'm on stage, every fourth person's sitting there with a phone recording your show. So you're on the Internet before you're back to the hotel. And
isn't that the truth? And plus, if someone puts something up on YouTube, that basically burns that joke for the rest of the country.
Yeah. So it's, you talk about going through material. It's, you really go through it in the world we live in now.
Now, you can't talk to Jeff Foxworthy without touching on "you might be a redneck." Is that phrase patented?
Yeah, it's funny. I still do the page-a-day calendars. It's still one of their most popular ones. I think I did the first one in 1990, so for 25 years I've been doing those. And every year you think there can't be more. There cannot. But it's kind of the bottomless pit. And the nice thing about my job is people tell you things they shouldn't tell their therapist. So nobody comes up to me in the grocery store and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Foxworthy." People are like, "Hey, Jeff, let me tell you what my mother did." I'm like, "Hold on, let me get a pen."
And do you have every one of them in a card catalog somewhere?
I do.
You do?
I do. And now there's probably, I don't know, 6,000 or 7,000 of them.
Card catalog. I guess I dated myself.
Yeah, you did a little bit, but that's exactly what I have them in too. And my kids are like, "Dad, you really need to put all this, in a computer somewhere."
Traditionalist. Well, talking about things that propelled you in your career, I would say the redneck bit was one of the big stepping stones.
Oh, Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't until years later that I realized it's one-liners, and we kind of live in an age where nobody does one-liners, and I don't really do one. I think of myself more as a storyteller, but they were easy to remember. They were easy to you only had to remember a line, and you could tell it and get a laugh, and it was kind of universal. I found I've been to all 50 states. You get 30 minutes outside of any city, you got rednecks. The scenery may change and the accent may change, but you have rednecks.
Rednecks are rednecks.
Rednecks are rednecks. And so, I think it was that universality of it all that made it work, and the fact that it was just simple. It was easy, and you could just roll them off.
I read something on Wikipedia today that made me smile. You met your wife, Pamela, at a comedy club. Did she do stand-up, too?
No, she was an actress, but she had a friend that was actually in the contest that I got entered into, and so she saw me the very first night I was on stage. So I tell people I met my career and my wife the same night in the same place.
That's incredible. So she's been with you. She's been with you for the entire ride, then.
Yeah, we're about to come up on 30 years of marriage. So
good Lord.
I tell everybody she just got into it for the money, because I think that first year on the road I did 400 shows and I made about $8,000. So
yeah, she's known you at both ends of the spectrum. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So she really loves you.
Well, I tell people that. I said I could never get remarried. I don't know if they would really love me, but we were rolling pennies to go to the movie theater. Yeah, she loves me.
And what's this I hear about? She likes to sit out in the audience and laugh at your jokes that bomb.
Well, the funny thing is, with any other job, if you had done it for 30 years, you would, like if you laid carpet for 30 years, you would know how to do it. The thing with stand-up is, when you're writing new stuff, you don't know if it's funny or not. And so that process for me is always going back to a small club and just having the note cards and just, saying to them, hey, is this funny? Is this not funny? And they'll let you know. But the ones that nobody laughs at, I can always hear one person in the back laughing, and it's my wife. She loves it when they, then she'll get in the car. Oh, my God, that one bombed so bad. Oh, my gosh.
Probably the only person on earth that could get away with saying that and doing that.
Yeah, exactly, and she can. But, yeah, she does like to see me go down the toilet once in a while.
Jeff Foxworthy with Larry the Cable Guy, November 20th at the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall. Tickets at Portland5.com. But before I let you go, I need to verify something. I've heard rumors that Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader might be coming back to Fox.
Well, it is. In fact, we're on now. We just filmed it. We're on Tuesday nights now on Fox.
Hooray!
So, which was so weird, because people would come up to me and go, they need to bring the fifth grader show back. And, you kind of smile and think, well, that'd be nice, but they don't do that. And, then Fox called me and said, hey, we're thinking about bringing this back. Would you still want to host it? And I'm like, yeah, it's my baby. And so, yeah, we're back on the air now on Tuesdays.
I can't lie. I got schooled by more than one punk kid watching that show.
Well, if it's any consolation, you are not alone. If I didn't have the cards, it would be a very short show.
Jeff Foxworthy, great talking to you, man. We will see you November 20th.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You as well.
All right. Bye-bye.